PI show viewers. It's that time of the show where we've got Kathy's mailbag. Sorry, Viv, she's taken it over. It's like she's got a monopoly on it these days. I like your scarf, it adds a bit more colour this week.
Thank you, Tony. Good evening, Harry. How are you?
Very well. This week's been good. Yeah, Alan Thompson's been good. And
pretty entertaining, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a natural, as you say. But so's Kathy, so we've got two naturals.
Yeah, I think
two
so.
naturals.
She hasn't been as colourful, but Harry, I mean, she's usually
it's
leading up to summer, you'd think that she'd be wearing something a bit more
I
colourful.
am trying to get ready for
summer in
the spring
Melbourne's a pretty
carnival,
tough time.
Yeah, it's pretty
Well,
tough
actually,
time.
we've got to change Melbourne's culture because there's a lot of black, and when you go to stores, all you're seeing is black outfits. So whilst females have lots of choice in terms of wardrobe, they don't have choice of colour.
Well, that's got to do with the fashion designers. They're going back to the
back
traditional
to
blacks
black.
and greys.
That's right. So anyway, next season I'll have a new black. But let's move on to the questions this week. Viewers, thank you again for writing in. To the PI show, my wife, who is 64, has worked as a nurse for the last 40 years, and over the past 10 years she has worked as a bank nurse at one of the big hospitals. Generally, she gets about 2 to 3 calls a week to work. Recently, she has been suffering from lower back pain. Given her age, she is keen to retire from nursing. Can she claim compensation for the damage to her back? On retirement, does she gain a healthcare card from the federal government? Thanks, Harold from Cremorne. Now, Harry, there's a couple of different issues here. First, it's whether a claim could be raised for lower back injuries.
Well, look, she's working as a bank nurse, but she's got rights for no-fault benefits. So if she's got a back injury and can't work due to activities over a long period of time, she's caught by the Accident Compensation Act, so she's got to put in a work cover claim form, a medical certificate saying incapacity, and she'll get weekly payments. The employer is deemed to be the job agency which gives her work, so that's the employer, and they'll have insurance for that, and she'll be covered for weekly payments. Secondly, she can put in what's called a no-fault benefit for lump sum. So she can put in a 98C claim, and she can get a lump sum for a back injury if it's more than 5% impaired. So she's probably qualified for that. Most people have 5%.
That's only though on the 12-month anniversary after she's lodged the claim.
That's right. So she's got to wait 12 months, and given her age, it's not a fair system, but that's what the law says. The weekly payments can be extended if she's 64 and over. It can be extended for a year. Normally, it stops at 65, but if you're 64 and put in a claim, you can claim for 2 years, weekly payments. Thirdly, she might have a total and permanent disability benefit from her super fund, so you've got to investigate that.
And that's in addition to her contributions.
In addition to her contributions and her account balance. And fourthly, she may have a claim at common law.
You'd need more facts. It's a bit,
but you're pretty creative at common law, Tony, and you might be able to...
facts are what they are, Harry. So
yeah, no, you might have a view that she might be able to sue the job agency for not properly exploring whether it was a safe system of work for her condition. They might know she's got a vulnerable back and still send her out to do
You'd
tasks.
need to know more about it to see basically what she was doing on a day-to-day basis.
So she might have a common law claim.
Yep.
But look, the common law claim would only arise for an injury after the 20th of October 1999. It's a magic
There's a big
date.
window of opportunity there.
And what about the healthcare card? Would she be entitled to the healthcare card?
Healthcare
whilst on
card,
weekly payments?
No.
Only after?
Because medical expenses would be taken care of by work cover, and when she ceases work cover weekly payments, they're open for an extra year, I think, after she retires.
And plus she'd be subject to an income assets test.
For the healthcare card as well.
Yeah, just like anyone else.
Yeah.
So it depends on what her assets are.
But the best advice is to see a lawyer and get proper advice about a work injury.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Harold. moving on to the next
Who do you
question.
think, Harold?
Harold or-
No, Harold.
Oh,
because
Harold's the,
sorry,
I
I
thought,
got confused.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
Harry's
Harry.
answering the questions, but
I thought you
Harold's the
were
one
being-
that's written
I thought,
in. So
I thought you were being formal towards Harry then.
Yeah, yeah,
No.
no,
That's actually fun.
no, well, I wanted to thank Harold
Sorry, Harry.
for writing in. So I hope that's answered your
Because I've never
question.
heard Harry called Harold.
no.
Well, we can start. As of next week, Harry's called
I don't think
Harold.
he likes Harry. The only Harold I knew was the one on
Neighbours.
Neighbours.
He was famous too.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says. He is and
Did
was.
you realise
yeah.
it's a character?
Yeah, he's a character. I think he came to see me once. But
Okay, well, thanks, Harold, as well. Moving on, Dear PI Show. I'm a young doctor who has recently been involved in the case of a woman who has developed breast cancer and will most likely die. She came to us early on with a lump, but testing seemed to suggest it was a benign cyst. Unfortunately, it became cancerous and has spread throughout her body. Even though I feel that the initial diagnosis was a difficult one and that I have not done anything professionally wrong, I would still like to apologise to the woman and her family. Will this make me liable in negligence? Thanks, Stephanie from Carlton. Now, this is a very interesting question, Tony, coming from a doctor. So, how would you respond to this?
I think it's very pleasing that someone's prepared to come along and say, yeah, look, I want to apologise. I want to show some compassion towards
I'd
this
be
lady.
careful.
But you'd have to word it very, very carefully, as Harry's alluding to just now.
Because he's got an insurer and he should, first of all, talk to the insurer. The insurer might give him some advice.
But I think the way you phrase it would be, look, we've done everything we can for you. It's unfortunate the testing didn't show up the problems, and I really feel for you. No, look, I think it's...
There might be admissions against interest, Tony.
Yeah, well, that's true too, I guess.
I think the first step would be for him to consult his professional insurer and run the scenario past them.
Well,
they might say fine. I mean, they might have investigated and they might say fine. But I think he would be probably advised to speak to his professional insurer firstly, or his professional association, you know, the medical...
Well, I don't
the
think
medical
it's done much
profession.
wrong, because if you have a look at the... it says that there was testing done. You can't do much more than that. And it indicated it was a benign cyst. Now, someone would have reported on that, Harry. It would have been a pathology department.
Yeah.
And
But-
he wouldn't be able to read or interpret the actual test.
But Tony, there might be some facts there which aren't fully
Okay.
disclosed. So
Well, look, I think you're right. He should get speak
talk to
his
his
insurer.
professional association or the insurer.
You could almost give a qualified apology without prejudice or off the record.
Yeah, no, they might
Yep.
clear it. As you say,
Yep,
there might
yep.
be no negligence, and I think it is pleasing someone's coming forward.
Well, I
But
think you need to show some compassion towards people in these circumstances.
yeah,
And I mean, that's
Yeah.
half the problem. I mean, there's a massive divide
Gap.
or gap between
Yeah.
patient, doctor, lawyer. You know, it's got to be, yeah.
yep.
Well, that's all we've got time for again with the questions, unfortunately. But we'd like to thank you again for writing in, and we'd like to mark your attention to watch previous episodes of The PI Show and to write into us on www.thepishow.com. Thank you again for having me, Tony.
Thanks, Kathy.
Harry.
Thank you.
Harold,
No,
Harold.
I'm not a Harold. I'm not a Harold today or next week.
I haven't like our neighbours at this
Thanks for
stage.
watching, and we'll be back next week with the PI Show.
Thanks.
Thank
for
you.
Stay tuned.
Thanks.